Picture a world fully connected, where the mundane necessities like shopping are taken care of by connected devices and sensors. In fact, nearly everything is connected. Nutritional data, gym usage, and sleep patterns are shared with your doctor. Medications are prescribed and, along with food, printed at home. New Sanhoban is locked in a struggle between those seeking greater integration and capability and those that harken back to a supposed golden age of privacy. At the heart of a world where people routinely interact with realistic digital versions of colleagues, friends, and even family, is data. And perhaps the most valuable resource of all, belief.
Hey, Steven, I'm making Dad's bolognese. What was his secret ingredient? I feel like I'm missing something.
Bay leaf.
Nope, not bay leaf.
Red wine.
Red wine, of course. How could I forget? Year 2027. That was our last holiday together. Before or after, right after the final lockdown. He used to make so much of this spaghetti. Remember?
Well, it was pretty much the only thing Dad could cook.
Yeah, but he was proud of it. Have you reached out to him again?
You know I can't do that. I really don't think he's ready. Besides, I get the feeling that he just doesn't want to talk to me.
We'll see. Except...
Spaghetti! Did you remember the red wine?
Hey, Dad. I did remember the red wine. It was actually Steven who reminded me of it. Come on, Dad. I thought we could all sit down and have dinner together, like a normal family.
Julia, as families go, this is not exactly normal. Not for me. You might have a brother, but I don't have a son. Not anymore.
Good morning, New San Jovan. It's Monday, August 26, 2030. Some call him a visionary. Others accuse him of exploitative employment practices. But none can ignore the impact that Corlo Industries CEO Richard Graves has had.
To all the misfits, slackers, dropouts, graduate universities struggling right now, oh, I feel you. I was laughed at in high school. See, I was shy. Man, I had a terrible stutter. The teachers completely wrote me off. No one believed in me.
All you tech fans out there, get ready. The annual Corlo Industries keynote is upon us. So, what will they surprise us with this time?
Because life is short, my friends. I failed so many times, man, they thought I was crazy. I focused on what I wanted from life. And so should you. So I say to you, don't give up.
I suspect they're going to announce the next generation of 4D medical implants. It's been a while since the last update.
Hospitals have been installing these smart devices into old or sick people for years.
Yes, to improve their quality of life.
Or to be able to get rid of those who cost the system a little too much. Or eliminate undesirables or political rivals.
So, that was the interview with Jeremiah Brown, who seemingly missed the last century of medical history. Hey, I warned you it was going to get crazy, but that's who you wanted me to interview. Don't forget to vote on who you want me to interview next month. The poll is now live. I've been Julia Sanchez, The Truth. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. Report 2030.
Do you know what drives me?
The fact that we're all gonna die. So let's make every day, no, every minute count. Let's not waste it complaining. Let's actually do something to change the world together. This is a day I've been looking forward to for almost 3 years. Once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And we at Colo are more than fortunate to have worked not on one, but many such products. We created the first 4D medical implants that have drastically changed millions of lives. What is that? That was supposed to be a counter. It's not moving. Look, how hard is it to animate a counter? What's going on? Where's Victoria?
Richard, listen. Legal is still very skeptical about any number above 1 million.
Victoria.
I know that we've sold just shy of 2 million units, but most of those are still on the shelves.
Okay,
There is strong advice that stating more could actually be...
But that's not the point. Look, this is not a shareholders meeting, okay? No one cares how many sales we've made. Okay, the people out there watching this are no robots. They're human beings. And what we're telling them is not how many products we've sold, but how our product impacted their lives. Just give me a second. Accept? Not the best timing. What is it?
Our edge computing capability is seriously degraded. The lag time...
How's that even possible?
DevOps has been working on integrating backward capability between the older 4D implants and the new line, and I don't know what to say. We're now receiving a lot of calls from our medical partners describing what looks like a cascading failure of all our first-generation implants.
Well, is there anything we can do?
We're investigating.
I'm sure you remember the first single ID referendum 2 years ago, via Identium. Well, hang on to your hats because here we go again.
We've made significant progress in security, in regulation, and technologically.
For the sake of clarity, are there any benefits for a single digital identity?
No, it's just intrusion on a massive scale. We can't allow the government to gather and mine so much data. How many times do we have to say no?
We already leave enough of a digital imprint online for AI to replicate our personalities. Imagine if this information would fall into the hands of the wrong government. What would we do then?
Dad, you can't say that. You should apologize.
I will not apologize to that.
Dad.
Hey, why so serious? Become whoever you want with Rex's digital prefab.
Seriously, Dad?
Cheer up.
You're supposed to skip the ads.
No, it says I can skip in 5 seconds.
Dad, can you just please buy the premium calling package so that you don't have to see these ads?
I'm not spending a dime on this virtual stuff. If I want to have a conversation with my daughter, I get in my car and I drive to you for free.
Oh, well, the gas alone will cost you more than the VR calling package for a whole year.
Julia, I'm worried about you. Stephen is gone.
No, Dad. What you need to do is accept him as he is. Please? Can you just give him a chance? Can you just please give him a chance? Dad? Hello? Are you there? Dad? Dad, say something! Dad!
Consolidated Rubber and Logistics, Corlo, is a 19th century manufacturing company that has expertly evolved to maintain relevancy. Expansion into medical glove production and wearables during the Great Pandemic brought the company further into healthcare supply, and additive manufacturing has taken the company further, specifically into bioengineering. Their recent partnership with Medistate to provide self-folding polymer heart stents was their greatest breakthrough, but could now prove their undoing. This is all fuel to the flames for the conspiracy theorists who have inevitably moved on from vaccines and phone masts to what they see as surveillance tech within the body, nanomedicine, bioengineering, and connected implants. Corlo has been implicated in this, and however inaccurate it may be, regularly must deal with the consequences. Now Corlo Industries finds itself at the center of a critical failure. one that's already cost many lives.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You spent the last 48 hours on this. Can someone please tell me what was at fault and how can we fix this?
We've been staging out the firmware updates now for days without a single issue. Development and backward compatibility was complicated. We had some teething issues, but nothing significant was picked up in the testing and integration phases. I don't see how any of that could have caused this, though.
But are you sure?
Well, no, not yet. Who is to say it wasn't something external?
Ben.
We haven't uncovered anything suggesting that we've been compromised. We continuously monitor the integrity of our systems and data, and there just haven't been any red flags, nothing out the baseline, no record of any unexpected network activity, users, processes, nor devices. Absolutely nothing across the entire network.
But are you sure?
Well, we're still digging.
Okay. So what y'all are saying is, objectively, we know nothing. Unbelievable.
Richard, we've got to put out something soon. We can't stay silent for too long.
We can't say we don't know anything either.
Right, but staying silent is hurting us more. Richard, look. Corlo's silence speaks volumes. The silence of the wolves? Corlo's future at stake? Just a few of today's headlines.
So what do you suggest we do?
You are well known for being permanently online, but in the past 2 days, nothing. Just one post, one pro forma post. People know that something is up, and if we don't keep them in the loop, they'll assume that we're hiding something. You always told me that success is about a human connection. So get out there, talk. How sorry we are. What happened? Bring them in.
Even if we don't know what happened?
Okay, Victoria. When and how?
"19 people have died and almost 100 more are in critical condition after a sudden malfunction of their self-holding heart stents."
We're looking into every possible lead. You need to understand that these investigations take time.
Emergency services just didn't have quick enough access to the right data. A lot of lives could have been saved had the single digital identity not been rejected in 2028.
And what's the government's answer to technical failures? More untested technology, seriously?
I told you so.
2 days after the fatal malfunction of Corlo's medical products, we still have few answers. And we must not forget the victims' families. A social funding campaign has been set up in order to help these people. So please don't forget to support them in this challenging time. I've been Julia Sanchez, the truth, as always. See you next time on Report 2030. Do you know when he'll wake up?
Good evening. That's a question for the consulting physician, Dr. Martinez.
Can I speak to Dr. Martinez?
Your insurance package does not cover unscheduled access to the consulting physician, but I can put you in line. The doctor has an available appointment on Monday at 7 a.m. Should I schedule the call?
Media Savvy CEO Richard Graves has been unusually absent from his channels, apart from issuing a brief text statement that reads, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of everyone affected by this incident."
Corlo Industries, the manufacturer of the technology in question, called off their annual keynote only minutes before their stream was due to go live.
This blow to Corlo's reputation was felt on the stock market straight away and could, of course, impact the future of their ambitious government contract.
Good evening, I'm Julia Sanchez. Welcome to a special edition of Report 2030. My guest tonight, Richard Graves, CEO of Corlo, a company whose products kill people.
Julia, please. Our products don't kill people. They save lives.
So what is it that killed 21 people, if not the malfunction of your technology?
Yes. This is an absolutely tragic incident. I am heartbroken by what has happened. So we're doing everything we can to get to the bottom of it. Now, it's complex. See, when you're changing the world, sometimes
you can accidentally kill people.
Sometimes there can be mistakes.
Okay, so you admit that you made mistakes and that your company's products kill people, but do you at least know how? Because up until now, Corlo has remained silent as the grave. Correct, Mr. Graves?
How original. We have our people thoroughly investigating. We all on this, 24/7, until
So you don't know what happened?
First of all, we want to ensure that our system is secure so that something as tragic or even similar cannot happen again.
And for that, you need to know what did happen. So do you?
We are painstakingly analyzing petabytes of data, so we do know that only the first and second generation devices were affected. Now,
That's old news, Mr. Graves. Do you or do you not know what caused the deaths of 21 people?
The most important thing is that the remaining devices are 100% safe. Now, I personally guarantee that
You're not answering my question. Can you or can you not tell the people of New San Joban and the world what caused Corlo's 4D medical devices to stop working without warning? And how can you assure us that people aren't just simply waiting to die?
Our devices go through a rigorous process.
And then a few years later, they kill people.
Is this an interview or a public lynching?
Where data is at the foundation of everything, credibility and integrity become powerful weapons, and they can be used for good or ill. While the national government argues that a single digital identity will bring greater efficiency and security, privacy advocates are understandably concerned about the potential for ubiquitous surveillance and discrimination. In the neighboring state of East San Joban, for example, the authoritarian regime has banned so-called undesirable people from teaching for fear that they'll corrupt the young. Fully autonomous weapons systems are still being debated internationally. For now, there's a moratorium on their testing. While New San Joban is abiding by the terms, allegations have been made in the United Nations Security Council that East San Joban is not. Amid escalating tensions in the region, other countries are threatening to withdraw their support for a ban. Where truth becomes subjective, the conspiracy is king.
When Miss Sanchez attacked me, I was shocked. I went on her show to explain what we were doing, to put things right. But she refused to understand that we hadn't yet completed the investigation.
You slimy.
Well, it's still far
Graves.
from complete. But our preliminary findings
Screen
suggest...
off. Hey, Steven. Hey, Steven. Hey, Steven! Steven?
Oh, Julia. Sorry. Bandwidth.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. What is it you wanted to talk about?
This whole thing? I mean, I just don't know what to do anymore. Dad's barely holding on, and now this creep is telling everyone lies, and everyone's believing him.
You mean Richard Graves? He's always been a smooth talker on social media. People do eat him up. So in order to get to the truth, you're just going to need more than journalistic skills.
I know, but everyone's buying into Corlo's story, even the authorities. I mean, is that how cyber investigations work nowadays? You were in the force.
Okay. Do you remember when Zoracom was hacked? They had to block millions of credit cards. In order to buy some time, make the whole thing go away, they blamed it on some junior IT employee and labeled it as human error.
Who was the chief investigator?
Christopher Holt. He let it all slide.
Screen on.
Yeah, that's him.
Same guy, same tactics. So the only truth here is that Corlo and the police are cooperating.
Wait, you think they're both hiding something?
I don't know. That's what we're gonna find out. You can help me. Come on, it'll be like old times.
Richard Graves, CEO of Corlo Industries, is still the talk of the town after Julia Sanchez's interview.
Well, it's still far from complete, but our preliminary findings suggest that, it pains me to say it, that the malfunction might have been the result of a corrupted update. I mean, it's still too soon to be sure. I am sorry. I apologize to everyone that I've let down.
And today's trending hashtags are Richard, not my Corlo, and take it to the grave.
I don't know about you, but I find it hard to believe. You all remember, Mr. Graves had little to no idea what happened, yet a day later he comes up with this story about a bad software update? These last few days have been excruciating for all of us. But I want to clarify that I do not accept Corlo's explanation, and I will stop at nothing to bring you the truth. I've been Julia Sanchez. The truth, as always. Remember to like and subscribe. See you next time on Report 2030.
Richard. Like I said, Richard, that was a very good interview. We're back on track.
How?
Well, sentiment analysis engines are predicting very positive impressions.
How did I end up in an interview with a journalist whose father is in a coma after our hot stent malfunctioned? I had no chance.
You know we don't have access to patient data.
Benjamin? Something on your mind?
Yes. He lied. The corrupted update was just a hypothesis, one of many. We still don't know what we're still going through the data. My teams are working 24/7, going through all activity over the past 6 months. But it's going to take time to sift through all those logs.
Ben, it's not that simple.
No, Vic, it actually is. We're all here because you inspired us, Richard. You showed us that we can achieve remarkable things by working together. And we have. I mean, we've literally changed the world. But this thing
We don't know We don't have access. We can't say for sure. That's all I've been hearing for the past few days. And in the meantime, the conspiracy theorists are having a field day. I had to buy some time, Benjamin. But I need to know if I'm responsible for all these deaths.
I think she went too far. What we saw yesterday has nothing to do with factual reporting. This 2030 report of hers is descending into pure sensationalism.
Contrary to many theories out there, Corlo is not obstructing the investigation. On the contrary, they are providing us with all the assistance we require.
A protest has erupted in front of the East San Juan embassy after the regime introduced the so-called Exemplary Teacher Initiative. Our neighbors have banned people they consider undesirable from teaching based on the records from their so-called collective approval system.
No, Stephen, this just isn't gonna work. It's just data, it's faceless. It's one thing having the facts, but connecting with your audience, it's a whole other story. Every good story has people. We need the human element.
Well, it seems I've saved the best for last. I've gone through some dark web discussions and stumbled upon this guy. He seems to have quite a grudge against Corlo.
Okay, well, anyone can say whatever they want online. How do you know he's telling the truth?
Because I found him. Marcus Richardson, IT specialist, previous employee, Corlo Industries. And about a month ago, he was fired.
How did you manage that?
Still got a few aces up my sleeve.
Sometimes better not to know, I guess. I'm writing to him. Text. Hello, my name is Julia Sanchez. I'm investigating the Corlo incident. I would like to ask you some questions. I think we can help each other. Send. Accept.
Well, hello, Julia Sanchez. I'm a big fan of the show, and trust me, I got a story you will not believe.
Intellectual property theft remains a concern in 2030, of course. But in addition to simple data theft, manufacturers like Corlo are having to defend against data poisoning attacks. There is a vibrant underground market for stolen designs. Criminals have also developed the means to alter the composition of designs so that the end products do not function as intended. Open source templates have proved particularly vulnerable to poisoning. At its least harmful, the impact means downtime and the cost of suboptimal functioning. In the context of Corlo's sensitive medical and military contracts, the stakes are somewhat higher.
Corlo has little better than basic security, easy to overcome. I tried to warn my supervisor, but he just fired me, so, well, I guess he's in on it too.
In on what?
Listen, it's not great there. The IT admin team, they're drowning in data. Overworked, underpaid, denied overtime. So they just took matters in their own hands and, they sold the access to Corlo infrastructure on the black market.
Well, that is a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?
I mean, all you have to do is search the dark web. You'll find their advertisements. Look here.
An SJ500 company. Hello, I am interested in selling full network access to a large corporation. Price negotiable, cryptocurrency only. This is astounding. Do you know the sellers?
Of course.
How deep does this access go? I mean, theoretically, could this group or person be directly responsible for all of these deaths? I mean, who's desperate enough to be selling this? And who's crazy enough to use it? This has been a special late-night report bringing you an exclusive interview with a brave individual who has revealed the truth behind the Corlo incident. It turns out This was not a bad software update, as Corlo and the authorities would have us believe, but a direct attack enabled and facilitated by Corlo's own employees. Friends, we are getting closer to the truth, and I will be covering this story until the bitter end. I've been Julia Sanchez, the truth, always. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time on Report 2030.
Hello, Julia. It's 7 a.m. How do you want your coffee?
I don't know.
Double espresso then. Would you like to hear the report on your most recent stream?
Yes, please.
There are 5,983 new comments with 34 quotes in mainstream news portals and over 300 in other online publications. The individual shares on social media are 11,305. And there's a cryptographically signed communication marked urgent, waiting for your acknowledgement.
Accept.
Good morning. This is Christopher Holt from the NSJ Police Department.
I know who you are.
Great. That will speed things up. I'm really sorry for the early hour, but we have a few pressing questions, which I'm sure you will appreciate. I also have to inform you that this conversation is being recorded.
I can see that. I wonder, did you happen to pay Richard Graves a visit at such a sociable hour?
Ms. Sanchez, I've come to ask for help, and it's urgent. We need to speak to the gentleman you hosted on your show last night.
You're aware of press privilege, right?
Naturally.
Okay, great. Since you're here, maybe you could shed some light on the author of the unfounded faulty update story? I'm also recording this conversation.
Naturally. Ms. Sanchez, you don't seem to like me. But I fondly remember working with your brother. I'm not your enemy. I just want to ask your friend a couple of questions before he gets anyone into any more trouble.
Is that a threat?
Believe it or not, we want to get to the bottom of this as much as you do. And from what I've seen, he has some crucial information.
You know what? I'll pass on your request. Maybe I'll even persuade him to speak with you. But favor for a favor, okay? I want to be the first to know everything that's happening with this investigation. Exclusively.
It was nice talking to you. Please give my best to Stephen. We all miss him.
Julia Sanchez delivered another bombshell interview about the Corlo incident, a late-night live stream that will be a tough wake-up call for Richard Graves and his Corlo team.
It seems like no organization is immune from the unwelcome attention of today's professional cybercriminals. And an organization like Corlo is a particularly valuable prize.
Access as a service is a very well-established business model in today's underground economy. Honestly, I'm surprised that an organization of Corlo's experience could have fallen prey so easily.
The most important question is still unanswered. Who else had access and why?
Who is this guy? Sysadmin? Ops? We don't have thousands of privileged accounts. Why is it so difficult to identify him?
As far as HR can tell me, we haven't fired anyone in 6 months or more. Either our records are unreliable or this person isn't who they say they are.
What about the black market ads? Are they legit?
They seem accurate enough. Those underground marketplaces do exist, and some of them are still accessible.
If that's true, we could have been compromised for years. You know our share price has dropped 15% already?
Let me worry about that. Once we launch the new product line, everything will go back on track. But right now, how do we find these people?
Currently, No idea. We are working on correlating all the data we have. Logins, locations, network and data access, reads, writes, everything. But it's a huge volume of data and it's manual. If you ask me, I think we'd have a better chance of catching a break with the cyber division guys.
With Corlo, we're talking about a designated critical national infrastructure supplier who have their fingers in a lot of the same pies that our neighbors would love to get a piece of.
Collective approval systems, state hacking, influence ops. They don't have citizens, they have subjects. Nothing like this could ever happen in New San Hoban.
Are you worried that faceless corporations know too much about you? Enough even to anticipate your thoughts? Our cloud-based differential privacy service safeguards your identity.
Call Marcus Richardson. Call Marcus Richardson. Call Marcus Richardson.
Well, hello there. Oh my God, have you seen the memes after our interview? Hilarious.
Marcus, I've been trying to reach you all day. Where have you been? Are you okay?
I didn't see the calls. What's up?
I had a visitor.
The police, right? I mean, that's good. Who called?
Holt. I told him that I wanted an exclusive.
Holt? Christopher Holt? No, you cannot trust Holt. He is involved somehow.
What do you mean? What are you talking about, Marcus?
This was a mistake. This was a mistake.
In 2030, digital identities are more tightly integrated across devices and services. Synthetic identities that don't map to offline humans or devices, and even more opportunities for humans to alter their identities according to the situation. In such a future, effective security will need to take this complexity into account and be highly aware of context. Billions of objects connected to 5G and 6G, edge processing and analytics, truly distributed cloud computing, and everything as a service has seen the end of cybersecurity's historical preoccupation with perimeters and discrete protections.
Call Christopher Holt. Damn it, Holt, you shady. Hey, Steven. That's your friend, and he screwed me. We found the whistleblower, we broke the story, and now he has persons of interest? And he won't take any of my calls?
Maybe he's just busy.
Busy? No, he's not busy. I've called him 11 times. He's sending me a message.
Listen, forget Holt. You don't need him. You've gone so far all by yourself.
Well, I had some help. But now I feel like I've hit a brick wall. Again. Marcus has disappeared, and for all I know, Holt has him. Hey, maybe he would take your call.
Oh, no. You know they don't talk to me.
Please, 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 little brother, it's the only way. It doesn't even have to be Holt. Maybe someone owes you a favor?
Okay.
All I can tell you for now is that based on data we received from Carlo, we have identified several persons of interest. They are currently the focus of our inquiries.
One day it's a faulty update, the next a cyber attack. With the official account changing so rapidly, so quickly, it's hard to believe anyone.
Were we deceived from the start? That is a good question, Matilda_IRC. Did Corlo, did Graves know that his own employees were enabling cyber criminals?
I always believed everyone at Corlo, from new hires to the very top. She had one goal, one vision. I was wrong.
So what did the police do? Nothing. They waited until Corlo handed over their data and, in their own words, based on that data, identified persons of interest? Really? Data from Corlo. I've been Julia Sanchez, The Truth. As always, remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time on Report 2030.
I still fail to grasp how a corporation of your stature is slower than a streaming journalist.
We've been working 24/7.
Julia Sanchez has already forced your hand twice. You really need to work with us on this. We've been digging through the data you provided. Look. Paul Hansen was pretty easy to identify. His credentials were used in 5 different cities over the course of 2 weeks.
Hansen, he worked for Zynesis, a company we acquired. He's a work-from-home employee, so where he connects from would not be an issue.
Yes, you can travel and still work, but Mr. Hansen hasn't left the capital once during the time in question. Elevator cam.
There's no way we would have known. We don't spy on our employees.
You don't need, or you wouldn't have had to, if you had been keeping a closer eye on things. On one of those days, he supposedly traveled 120 miles in just 5 minutes.
The acquisition. It's been months, but we haven't fully integrated their operations or security systems. That's the blind spot.
Well, if you don't have complete visibility, then we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Old-fashioned?
Follow the money.
Do you think the exposure of this act of cyber terrorism will affect the vote?
I have no doubt. Ihsan Hoban is behind this.
Wouldn't an all-encompassing system, like the single digital identity, have potential for unforeseen consequences or even abuse?
Well, for one, with a single digital identity, we would already be significantly closer to identifying those responsible.
There's no doubt in my mind, based on the evidence we have and on clearly defined psychosocial behavior patterns. Come on, it's the government.
Julia, may I say something?
Stephen, I didn't know you were here.
I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to be informed as soon as I found something.
Yeah, sure, I do. What did you find?
So I've been contacting a few of my former colleagues. As expected, they have been blocking me. All except for one, Lily Rose. She used to be a sergeant on Holt's team. And as it turns out, she's a big fan of your show.
That's promising.
And she wants to be a little bit off the record. She's uploaded something onto an anonymous cloud drive.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Did she say what this was?
It's straight from the Cyber Division's archives.
All the data they have correlated on every person of interest.
Yeah, 12 individuals. The only thing they have in common apart from Corlo is an insane amount of tiny crypto transactions.
Tracking crypto transactions is still pretty much a losing game.
Yeah, but The police showed this to us, at least part of it. Just led to a bunch of dead ends. Screen names, anonymous overseas wallets. No, wait, look.
Traxos the Wise.
Are you sure this data's for real?
Oh, yeah.
That's not possible.
Combining the wealth of societal data in New San-Hoban may well be useful to those tracking terrorists and criminals, but it's also of great value to hackers and influence operators. As a result, increasing numbers of citizens around the world are using security tools to ensure that their data sets are kept separate, and many are resisting digital data collection altogether. These splitters, as they've come to be known, are often aligned with environmental activists and off-gridders. Because New San-Hoban is a smart city, it's effectively impossible to live there off-grid. And so there is a growing alternative community about 20 kilometers outside the city limits. Instant access to the world's knowledge has obviated the need to learn anything. Even education is now focused on processing rather than acquiring knowledge. As a result, objectively, people increasingly know less.
The people who opt out, these so-called splitters, they slow down this great nation's technological advance. We have to ask, who's bankrolling that? Because that's exactly the kind of thing East San-Hoban would love.
In the capital, even the sidewalks are embedded with smart technology, so literally, your every step is being tracked and analyzed.
It's clear to me that they are well-funded. By whom? The New Marxist International Forum. I think it's pretty obvious.
With Corlo and the authorities spinning a web of lies, deceit, and misinformation, I'm here to ask the difficult questions. So do you want to know what's real and what's fake? Well, tune in. I'm Julia Sanchez, the truth, as always. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time, Report 2030. Call Michael Kavanagh. Traxos the Wise.
It's been a while since anyone's called me that.
Yeah. World of Spellcraft, Netheroth Server, Fat Magnus's Tavern.
The good old days. Dragons, spells, loot boxes, and pay-to-win fire rings. It was a simpler life ashore. How are you, Julia?
All things considered, I'm not bad. Kind of tired.
Yeah. I'm sorry about your father. I hope he recovers soon.
Yeah, thank you. I know he will.
I hear Steven's back.
Michael, you and I, we go way back. I value your activism. I really think you're doing important work.
Oh, gee, thanks.
But this is why I want to give you a chance to explain yourself before I go public. Have you been using your old gaming handle anywhere recently?
That's funny, but no. Julia, what is...
I don't know, a new eShop account or a dating site or a pet loyalty program. Or I don't know, how about a dark web crypto Tumblr account?
Is this some part of the Corlo witch hunt you've been pulling off recently?
So you admit it's connected to Corlo?
What? Are you insane? I mean, who could fail to spot how the tone of your show has changed recently, but wow. This is just crazy. I don't have to listen to this.
You know, that username sent a very specific amount of crypto to the account of one Paul Hansen, who's now the prime suspect in the Access as a Service scandal?
It's just a username. It proves nothing. But more to the point.
That's true. Crypto tumblers usually like to keep their transactions anonymous, and they bounce coin around from place to place, usually through some pretty shady places. But at the top of the chain, there's just one wallet. Guess whose?
That's impossible. You'd need to access every transaction log globally. What would you even use to get that kind of data? There's no way that this can be legit. You know, what if someone—
Shut up, Michael. You knew what was being sold. You were a customer. Why would you cover for Corlo of all things?
We were convinced that Corlo had been collecting user data without consent for years, in blatant disregard of the Kilishek Act of 2025. We tried everything. We notified everyone. No one cared. It was even getting worse, so...
So what? Revenge? Please.
Not revenge. We needed proof. But all the evidence was in Corlo's systems. So yeah, I bought access so I could find it and expose them. I know it wouldn't be admissible in court, but on social media, this would have dropped like a bomb.
So what did you find?
Nothing. Yes, we had access, but their databases are so vast that we were searching for weeks and we didn't even cover half. We couldn't find anything. And then the malfunction. I swear that's it. I know it looks bad, but this had nothing to do with us. You have to believe me.
The opponents of the single identity still hold the slimmest of advantages in the polls, 52 against and 48% in favor. This could well end in the Supreme Court.
In a 52-48 referendum, this would be unfinished business by a long way. Predictions are a mug's game.
So, we know who was selling access, but we still have no idea whose credentials they were selling. So we have to go back to checking for any suspicious lateral movement from every account.
The police are also looking for the buyers, and if they can track them down, that should give us the information we need to find out who was in our network, for how long, what they were doing, etc., and that should help us get to the bottom of things.
Otherwise, it's tough. There's one system which is responsible for authorization, another which is responsible for monitoring network activity, and another one which is responsible for content tagging, and so on. Xenesis is still a standalone business unit from a technical perspective. None of these systems talk to each other. That's why we have to correlate all the data.
How much data?
Petabytes.
Some system.
How long? Without any help? 6 weeks.
Our second referendum, Identium 2, as they are calling it, is in just a few days, and it couldn't be any closer.
With a single digital identity, we would be heading in the same direction as East San Juan. We are not a crazy hippie commune. We are fighting for the fundamental human right to a private life, and we're not going to give up. Whatever it takes, we're going to keep on fighting.
How's progress?
I finished sorting all the data from the package.
Is there anything that can help me figure all this out?
I haven't read through every document. I've managed to categorize everything to make it easier for you to work on.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you can sort through file type, date modified, the usual. There's even an MP4. Just one.
MP4? Like video?
Yes.
Are those even in use anymore? Is it an old file?
Oh no, fairly recent. From a few weeks back, actually.
That is interesting. Let's have a look.
We got it.
It wasn't cheap, but we now have admin access to Corlo's backend.
Oh, Traxos. Not so wise.
Time to get what we want.
Even back in 2020, the accepted notions of truth, trust, and authenticity were already under threat. Today, in 2030, we're still debating measures to assist citizens in distinguishing fact from fiction and honesty from dishonesty. Information is more persuasive simply by virtue of being visual and even visceral. A lower level of knowledge retention by individuals has put an even greater focus on the knowledge that is accessible. Everyday interaction with synthetic humans and their widespread use in the entertainment and political arenas means that people have become desensitized to footage generated by AI, which is now so accurate and so lifelike that people are unable to tell the difference.
I'm Julia Sanchez. Welcome to Report 2030. It's been almost 2 weeks since the Corlo incident, when so many lives and families were destroyed. From day one, we have seen false flags and fake news from both Corlo and the authorities. The truth I'm going to expose today will make painfully clear everything they have been trying to hide. But let's start from the very beginning. This is quite a tale.
Our partnership with Medistate means that we can now deliver our self-folding nanotech into the body without a single incision. Now Corlo can truly be close to everyone's heart.
Or to be able to get rid of those who caused the system a little too much, or eliminate undesirables or political rivals.
Maybe you remember, a while ago my guest here said that biotech smart devices would start killing people, and I dismissed him. I want to apologize for that. He was right. The death toll so far caused by smart implants is 22. 22 fatalities and hundreds more in hospital. Do we know why? Do we know who is responsible? No, we don't, because no one's revealing that. In fact, quite a few are covering it up. So, who's implicated? Let's have a look. Richard Graves, the visionary, the leader, with access to all of Corlo's secrets. What do you say, Richard?
That the malfunction might have been the result of a corrupted update.
Of course, after I presented proof that it was much more than that, only then did you admit that it was in fact your employees selling access to cyber criminals. Do we know who these insiders are? Not really. Only one, Paul Hansen. From what sources tell us, he is one of many who have been denied overtime, passed over for promotion. Maybe he was supplementing his income, or maybe he wanted to get back at his employer. Understandable? Maybe. Excusable? Never. Have we heard any details since then? No, not one. Mr. Graves, what are you up to? Are you covering up Corlo's responsibility? Corlo's negligence? Or maybe it's active involvement in the sale of confidential data. I don't know. I'm just asking the questions we all have. Questions that are normal and natural, but have yet to be answered. We must acknowledge a hero in the midst of all of this. A person who challenged the status quo in the name of justice and was fired for his trouble. I'm talking about another of my previous guests, the ex-Corlo employee who exposed the ring that ran the whole Access as a Service scheme. The first time we spoke, he told me how he believed that not only were his superiors aware of this criminal activity, but also took an active part. Remember these? Incredible. But do we know what happened to the whistleblower? First, he got fired, we know that. Then, as he tried to reveal this information on social media, he got the banhammer. And after he came to this show, shared his revelations and provided all the proof the police needed, we'll get to them shortly. After all that, quite conveniently, he disappeared. Or he was made to. Is he in police custody? Has he fled? Or maybe Corlo has gotten to him and, well, we don't even know if he's even still alive. So, maybe it's time to reveal his identity. Maybe someone out there knows something about the fate of this man. And if you do, you know where to find me. Marcus Richardson, a hero, a modern patriot. Before he vanished, he told me he was afraid of one person. And that person is Chief Investigator Christopher Holt. Let me ask you a question, Detective. How is the investigation going?
It's too early to announce. We're still gathering data. The investigation is still ongoing. We haven't placed anyone under arrest. No solid leads. No solid leads.
Is Holt incompetent? I don't think so. Then why hasn't he revealed the truth behind this tragedy? They already have an extensive body of evidence. I know it. We all know it. They have suspects. Corlo has provided them with mountains of data. Who logged in, when, from where, what they did once inside the network. Are we supposed to believe that one of the biggest companies in the world doesn't have visibility into their own systems? This level of incompetence is difficult to comprehend. So why? One explanation could be political pressure. But who would have a vested interest in the Corlo heart attack? Do you think the government wanted to frighten us in order to influence the referendum? It resonates with the lethargy of the police investigation, right? But are they cold-blooded enough to kill their own citizens? A lot of you out there might think so, but I don't think that's the case. I know you're all here for the truth, so let me show you the truth. Michael Kavanaugh. I'm sure you're wondering what he's doing here. Isn't he the antithesis of all these others? A man who fights for privacy and transparency, a beacon of ethics and technology. Well, let me tell you something about Michael you may not know. I met him a long time ago, online, when World of Spellcraft was the new big thing. We were in the same clan, we raided together frequently. We became friends. He used to play as a dwarf mage. His avatar was called Traxos the Wise 555. Remember that name. Now, back to Corlo and the Access as a Service scheme. In total, there were 12 persons of interest identified by the police. My sources close to the cyber division tell me that each suspect had received thousands of microtransactions with all the hallmarks of cryptocurrency laundering. And with that, they hit a dead end. But I followed the money. Every crypto cent of it, from dubious burner accounts, no clues to be had there, except for one. We circle back to Paul Hansen, because when I saw who paid him for access, that was the breakthrough. On the other side of that crypto tumbler, the transaction originated from an account in the name of Traxos the Wise 555. Yes, exactly, my old friend the dwarf mage, Michael Kavanaugh, an outspoken supporter of the so-called splitters, appeared to be one of the criminals who had paid for illegal access to Corlo's systems. To be honest, it was hard for me to fathom. This upstanding citizen involved in such an act. I contacted him. I gave him a chance to explain.
We needed proof, but all the evidence was in Corlo's systems. So yeah, I bought access so that I could find it and expose them. I know it wouldn't have been admissible in court, but on social media? This would have dropped like a bomb.
So what did you find?
Nothing. Yes, we had access, but their databases are so vast, we were searching for weeks, and we couldn't even cover half. We didn't find anything. And then the malfunction. And that's it, I swear. I know it looks bad, but we had nothing to do with this.
Friends, I understand where he's coming from. I can sympathize with his cause, and I have struggled with what I should do with what I've learned. Was he responsible for the Corlo malfunction? Even unintentionally? Or maybe he's just incredibly clumsy? I almost fell for it. But then, well, what I'm about to show you is shocking. Just see for yourself.
We got it. It wasn't cheap, but we now have admin access to Corlo's backend. We have a lot of ground to cover, but we have to go low and slow. We're gonna need time to get what we want.
If we want to go through the systems faster, we could use an autonomous AI. It's fast, and it behaves like a regular user. But I have to be honest, there's a strong chance of corruption. Corlo is responsible for a lot of medical tech. If we mess with the 4D implant systems, it could get really dangerous for people.
Exposing Corlo is the only thing I care about. Exposing Corlo is the only thing I care about. Is the only thing I care about. Is the only thing I care about.
So there it is. The truth? Michael and his splitter friends attempted to hack Corlo, unleashing a dangerous tool, causing the malfunction, which led to the death of almost 30 people. I've been Julia Sanchez, and this is the truth. As always, remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time on Report 2030.
Today's humans have now volunteered so much of their lives through self-generated content that archives for individuals have not only become necessary, they've resulted in digital selves that outlive the physical death of a person. What was once a collection of memories on social media is now a seemingly living thing. By continuing to interact in social spaces, they provide comfort to the relatives they've left behind. Increasingly, these digital humans have agency, particularly as the physical and digital worlds combine. Criminals already target these infinimes with the next generation of ransomware. Grieving families, meanwhile, have sought the help of human rights lawyers to prevent their loved ones being switched off, or in some cases, to enforce that they are.
Michael Kavanaugh was one of the leading faces of the campaign against the single digital identity. Are we already beginning to see a public backlash against this movement?
There have been some incidences where splitter homes and splitter-held businesses were targeted with graffiti. Splitters go home, or quite simply, split.
So what? The splitters want to expose Corlo for their alleged data abuse? I don't buy that.
Except, good morning, Inspector. You took your time.
I wouldn't be so cocky if I were you, Miss Sanchez.
Is that so? I just cracked your entire case for you. Oh, it's quite all right. I only did what was right. To get to the truth.
Truth. Funny thing. As elusive as a word on the tip of one's tongue. You know what you want to say, but it's just not there. And when you finally think you have it, the conversation has moved on.
Nice try.
Oh, on the contrary, I should congratulate you on the nice try. All things considered, you were right on a couple of occasions.
A couple? A couple of occasions? I was the first one there getting my hands dirty when no one gave a... All those people dead and their families? Not you or not Corlo. I spelled it out pretty clearly on my show. I named names, I had witnesses, I offered proof.
Proof? Huh. You mean the video? The one in which Michael Kavanaugh admits to buying access to Corlo, or the fake one?
What did you say?
I'm sorry. Maybe I was speaking too softly. The fake one!
Nothing's fake. The data's legit.
Oh, I bet 90% of the data was legit. But the devil is in the detail.
It could get really dangerous for people.
Exposing Corlo is important, but we can't endanger people's lives. Let's take it slowly.
I'm doing you a favor not arresting you right now. This is getting very complicated. Instead, I'm asking you, where did you get that video?
This is a trap. This is a trap. This is a trap because you don't care about the truth. You don't care. You don't care about the truth. What you care about is for me to give you the name of the whistleblower, but I'm not gonna do that. You know why? Because you arrested Michael. You already arrested him. So you know that he's guilty.
Of receiving stolen goods and computer misuse? Yes. That part is true. And you proved it. But the craziness that is happening right now is based on a doctored video. A video you presented to the world as the truth. And I need to know where it came from, Julia. Who gave you this video?
I cannot believe that Julia Sanchez would stream this kind of fake news.
The evidence gathered and, of course, the materials presented in Mrs. Sanchez's show are of great interest. But I want to stress something very clearly here. The investigation is still ongoing, and it's too early to press any charges against anyone.
And why are we not even considering that this whole thing may have been an influence operation by a foreign power? There are many nations that would like easy access to this kind of data.
Marcus Richardson.
No one with that name ever worked for Corlo.
That doesn't make any sense. Did Sanchez fake it? And if so, why? The story actually checks out in the end.
Michael Kavanagh's arrest has given us some valuable insight, though. Since we now know which credentials were compromised, it's easy to see their movements through our system. And it's
what?
It's stupid. These guys look like a bunch of amateurs. You can see their movements from space. They flapped around in our partner databases and in HR, but they never even came close to our medical-related infrastructure. It's almost as if they avoided it on purpose.
So that part is fake, and everything else we've learned about recently is true. How is that possible?
A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put its pants on.
What does that even mean?
That means there's another party involved. During our analysis, we came across the remnants of a code sequence which reset the first generation stents back to the original factory settings. That code is gone, but we managed to find traces of it, or rather, its effects on other systems. And this stuff is not amateur. Everything that's happened so far, everything that's happening now, has all the hallmarks of state-sponsored activity. They knew our systems, they knew our codes, they're well-resourced, they're patient, and they're precise.
Why would anyone go to all of the trouble? What's the aim? Killing people, implicating the splitters, and getting it broadcast? Wait. The referendum.
It is a possibility.
We need to contact the authorities. Tell them everything we know.
And tell them what? That we've been breached multiple times over months? Or that our security systems have glaring blind spots? Or that we think that bad people in another country are using our incompetence to influence the public vote in favor of the single digital identity? Who's gonna believe that? And even if somehow it gets voted through tonight, We could do so much more. Just think of all of the correlation, the training pools. Think about all of the good that we could do. Richard, we could really, and I mean really, change the world.
The latest sentiment analysis shows a significant shift in voting intentions for tonight's referendum. It could be even more closely fought than last time.
In other news, how safe is your digital persona? New findings show a rise in cyber kidnapping. Is this the latest evolution of ransomware, the cockroach of cybercrime?
Hey, Steven! Hey, Steven! Hey, Steven! Hey, Steven! Where the hell are you, Steven?
Steven's not here right now. Can I take a message?
This isn't time for jokes, Steven. I need to speak to your contact in the cyber division, the one that sent you the data.
Oh, I can't do that.
What? I need to speak to her now.
Is there a problem?
Oh, there's a huge problem. That video of Michael and the Splitters, it's fake. Holt showed me a completely different version of it.
Maybe his version is fake.
That's not funny, Steven. I need to speak to your contact now, and I need to speak to Marcus. We're all in big trouble, and so is New San Hoban if I don't speak to them now. Right now, Steven!
I'm sorry, Julia. I can't do that.
Why not?
Well, because... Oh yeah, they don't exist. The truth always is subjective. Wouldn't you agree?
Steven.
We tend to focus on the here and now, particularly when we're living through major world events. But we shouldn't let that focus detract from anticipating how technology may impact our future. In 2030, knowledge, understanding, even reality is heavily dictated by algorithms, making data manipulation and misinformation highly attractive attack vectors. Privacy and surveillance issues are a challenge for governments, businesses, and individuals. The promised benefits of innovation can often overshadow their potential for abuse. At the heart of technology, in the vanguard of progress, stand people. Whether in relation to privacy, environmental concerns, or human rights, it is likely that there will be even greater emphasis placed on developing technology focused on doing the right thing. Expertise in ethics should become a highly prized technology development asset over the next decade.
In what must have been the closest vote in New San Hoban history, the single identity has been accepted by 51 to 49.
People of New San Hoban have spoken, and we will listen. We are glad to have their support, and we pledge to move forward.
Hi, guys. Well, I'm sure you all been following the vote, and I'm sure you went out and voted. Now, I know there's some people that are concerned that this might be misused, but I personally guarantee you that I will do my darndest best to make sure that it's something that benefits society, that changes the world, that improves everybody's lives.
Michael Kavanaugh was one of the leading faces of the campaign against the single digital identity. Are we already beginning to see a public backlash against this movement?
There is a rumor going around, online as well as in government circles. Secretive meetings of very powerful people. There's talk of a second video. You know, that one that got Kavanaugh into trouble?
I think we have to say it out loud. The implication of these splitters in the Corlo incident did play a significant role in tipping the scales of public opinion.
We owe an apology to Julia Sanchez. Her work had... She played an integral part in this investigation.
Where is Julia Sanchez, by the way? She hasn't posted anything since that explosive accusatory stream.
So apparently, there is another version. What's on it? Your guess is as good as mine. But of course it will be suppressed. It will never see the light of day.
Christopher Holt. I won't be calling you again, so I'll just leave this message. I wanted you to hear it from me. We've concluded our investigation, and as a part of that, we have a pretty good idea what happened to Stephen. His life history, his databases were all encrypted, so as you know, without them, without his online history, without his personal diary entries, the AI can't regenerate an accurate digital persona. There's no encryption key, not even a ransom note. This attack wasn't intended as a kidnap. There was no evidence of tampering apart from the encryption itself. So he's still there, but we just can't get him back. So the division decided to close the case. I wanted to say that what I said earlier is true. We really miss him. He was a good officer, promising, brave, good-hearted. I can't imagine how it must feel losing him a second time. I'm sorry, Julia.
This is a day I've been looking forward to for a very long time. These past few weeks have been trying for all of us, but they've made us stronger, more resilient, more aware of how precious human life is. There has never been a greater need, a stronger calling to stand in the vanguard of innovation to change the world for the better, for all humanity. The imminent implementation of the single digital identity will help us create new technology to help every single citizen of New Saint-Gobain. And in the not too distant future, our grandchildren will be born into a world united under a single identity. And with that, my friends, we will reach for the stars. But for now, let us return to Earth, for there is still so much to do here. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the new line of Colo 4D medical solutions based on our groundbreaking programmable tissue.
Julia, there is someone waiting to see you. Julia, there is someone waiting to see you.
Decline all incoming calls. Thought I told you that already.
That is correct. Incoming calls are disabled.
Then why are you disturbing me?
Julia, there is someone waiting to see you. At the door.
Hey, kiddo.
Daddy. He's gone.
Oh, baby. Baby, he's been dead for 2 years. It's okay. It's okay. Here, I brought you some of my Bolognese. Not that printed junk.